Hello, folks. It's me, the old deplorable basket case, back once again with This Week in Awesome. True stories from around the world to show you that this is a world worth living in. So this is a pretty good week for medicine. Coming from Queen Mary University of London is a new breakthrough in regenerating enamel. Located on the outer part of our teeth, it is the hardest tissue in the body, but it cannot regenerate itself once it is lost, which of course leads to pain and losing your teeth. But a new study published in Nature Communications, researchers from there have developed a mineralized material that mimics the fortified structure of enamel, and it can be used to prevent and treat tooth decay, as well as tooth sensitivity and pain. As well as, apparently the material could potentially be used to regenerate bone, dentin, and other tough materials in the body, which is a really big deal. Moving on, let me see now. All right. New brain cancer treatment for terminal patients is shown to be, quote, remarkably promising, end quote. A new study documents the exciting results of a phase 3 clinical trial that researched the effects of a new brain cancer vaccine, a cancer vaccine, on 331 patients with glioblastoma. Now, ordinarily, the maximum lifespan of a patient is 17 months after their initial diagnosis. This is a very important figure. Please bear that in mind. The patients were treated at 80 sites in 4 countries. Were prepared for the trial by having surgeons remove as much of the brain tumor as possible. The surgeons then mixed bits of the tumor cells with immune cells from the patient as part of the vaccine, which, once it was delivered to the patient, essentially trained their immune system to target the cancer cells. 100 of the patients who received the vaccine were designated as extended survivors because they lived 40, on average, 40 and a half months after their diagnosis. On average, 40 and a half months, when the maximum life expectancy they had without this was 17 months. That's a huge deal. That's 100 out of 331 patients. The median survival rate of the patients who were receiving this treatment was just over 23 months. That's a big deal. This is a huge step in treating an awful condition that kills people. That's a big deal, ain't it? Moving on, another big deal. First ever 3D printed cornea could restore vision for millions of people. The cornea is the outermost layer of the human eye, and it plays a very important role in vision, in focusing our eyes. And it is also, as far as I'm aware, the only part of the eye that you can actually transplant. But there is a significant shortage of corneas available for transplants worldwide. This was a proof of concept research conducted in the UK by Newcastle University and published in Experimental Eye Research. The study shows how stem cells, human corneal stromal cells, from a healthy donor cornea were mixed together with alginate and collagen to create a solution that could be printed, a bio-ink, if you will. And they used a very simple, low-cost 3D printer to make a human cornea. And it took less than 10 minutes to print. Now that is amazing, isn't it? What an amazing world we live in. The dimensions of the printed tissue that their proof of concept was taken from an actual cornea, an actual person's eye. But by scanning a person's eye, they could use the data to rapidly print a cornea which matches the exact size and shape of the patient's eye. Now, that's medical news. That's the last of the medical news that I've got for you. But that doesn't mean there ain't more encouraging news. Benedict Cumberbatch runs to save cyclists being attacked by 4 men. Sure. Yes, Sherlock Holmes raced into the fray to save a bike messenger who was attacked by 4 men. Um, he was being driven by an Uber driver with a lady, I believe his wife. And when they saw this man being attacked, and he immediately jumped out of the car, followed by the driver, and helped him, saved him, rescued him from these men who were attacking him. Now, the company the young man was hired by, Deliveroo, posted a thank you note for the actor on Twitter saying, "Thank you, Benedict Cumberbatch, for your brave actions." Now, what I feel is a very important part of all this that shows something very important about Mr. Cumberbatch is that it was reported by the Sun, a newspaper out in England. He said, "I had to," and he declined further comment on the incident. That tells you a lot about the man. That tells you a lot of really good about the man. That he felt that he had no choice. He saw someone in trouble and he had to help. And that's a really good thing. Another bunch of people who are feeling need to do a thing. The University of Memphis announced this week that they would soon be offering free tuition to the children and spouses of fallen service members. They will be waiving the tuition for any Tennessee residents 24 years or younger who qualify for the Folds of Honor Scholarship. The Folds of Honor Scholarship contributes $5,000 for the education of their recipients. And they've been looking for universities to accept the scholarship as payment in full for some time, and while some schools have expressed interest, none have actually followed through until this week with the University of Memphis. Now, this is $5,000 a year for a scholarship, but the school's average yearly tuition is $9,700. That's almost twice as much as what the scholarship offers. That's a big deal. These are people who are absolutely not letting the bottom line stop them from doing what they think is right. And you don't have to agree with the politics of this. I think it's a little sad that this kind of thing could be considered political, but you don't have to agree with the politics of this to recognize that these people not letting their financial interest stop them from doing what they think is right, that's a great thing. Speaking of which, in the town of West Lafayette, Indiana, they've had a massive beer boom there, going from 2 breweries to 6 in 1 year. But just this week, brewer Jason Cook had just started the boil for a 7-barrel, 217-gallon brew of a new beer that he had been developing for some time. But as he was making the massive, expensive batch of beer, he suffered an accident and nearly lost the tip of the little finger on his right hand. Of course, he had to go to the hospital, but he had to leave his beer alone. But 2 other local brewers rushed over to his facility, no questions asked, and saved his brew. Now, these people were actually in competition with each other. They could have seen this as an opportunity to just watch one of their competitors fail. Instead, they rushed out and they helped this person with nothing gained. There was nothing in it for them. There was no money, just to help. And that's cool, isn't it? Moving on to the economy, specifically of the United States of America, a new report finds that electric, gas, and water rates have fallen across the country due to the tax cuts put in place by President Donald Trump and the GOP. A review of 102 utilities across the nation by Americans for Tax Reform finds that Trump's tax cuts mean lower utility bills for Americans. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. ATR went on to detail the rate reductions in states such as Florida, Ohio, Michigan, West Virginia, 37 other states, and the District of Columbia. For example, they found that the group Tampa Electric in Tampa, Florida, which is a place that I actually know. I've been there, lived there for a little while, announced the company would not raise rates to pay for its work to restore facilities due to the destruction Hurricane Irma caused, because the tax cuts helped make up the difference. Tampa Electric would have paid in corporate income tax will instead be used to the cost of restoring power after Hurricane Irma. Hurricane Electric told its customers, and several other earlier named. Additionally, Tampa Electric bills will reflect the ongoing benefits from tax reform starting in 2019. And that, ladies and gentlemen, this is laissez-faire capitalism at work. This is people just getting along with less government interference than there was before. Less government interference means better economy, almost universally. Speaking of better economy, 71% of Americans feel that the economy is doing better since Donald Trump took office. In 2014, only 2% said that they were very satisfied with the American economy. In a recent poll from Wall Street Journal and NBC News, this has risen up to 20%. 20%. On the other end of the scale, 2 years ago, before Donald Trump took office, 29% of Americans were very dissatisfied, according to the same poll. In the most recent poll, just 12% are. I'm sorry, I misspoke. 2 years ago, 29% of Americans were very dissatisfied, according to a similar poll from the same people, Wall Street Journal and NBC News. Now, this is a sign. This tells you that literally hundreds of millions of people are happier, better, their lives are improved from what they were just a little while ago. And that's a big deal. There's so many big deals out there, you know? And there's so much in the world that is going great. And so little of it gets reported on, because so many people just want to focus on awful things other people are doing, or awful things that they feel prove some point they're trying to make. That's why I'm here. I want people to know about these things, because this is amazing. The world is improving in so many ways. Speaking of political points and bad things other people are doing, or what people might consider bad things, the new Austrian coalition government is announced they will close down 7 radical Islamic mosques that are linked to radical and terrorist groups. And they'll also be moving to prevent mosques in Austria from receiving funding from other countries. Yeah, not wanting to have religious groups in your country being run by other countries. That's kind of a good thing, don't you think? Anyway, so this is a major move toward stopping people from being radicalized, to save innocent people from being turned into terrorists, from being brainwashed and sent out to kill people and do horrible things. And again, I keep saying this, that's a big deal. Speaking of radical Islam, the Taliban in Afghanistan has agreed to a 3-day ceasefire, which is the very first ceasefire the Taliban has ever agreed to. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani said the Taliban move was an opportunity for the militants to realize that their violent campaign was, quote, not winning them hearts and minds, but further alienating the Afghan people from their cause. Now, not only is this a good thing, because it means that there's a possibility that there will be a move toward stopping all this fighting and so forth, but the fact that the Taliban has finally agreed to a ceasefire at all is a very strong indication that they don't feel they're winning. And the Taliban not winning, I think everyone can agree, is a good thing. And that's all I got for you today, folks. Oh, goodness, this was a long episode. I had a lot of news this week, though. So, that's all. Thank you for watching / listening in. Please comment below with anything you have to say. I'd sure like to know what you think, especially if you have encouraging news to share. And that's all. Have a good night, and God bless.